Welcome to Recovering Gen X, a podcast that explores the common threads that bind our generation and celebrates badass Gen X women with unbreakable spirits. Today is our first episode, and I am excited, to say the least. I'm excited because I feel like this has just been a long time in the making, and I didn't even know it was headed in this direction, but here we are. We are going to be talking about owning your story. I think it's really important. It has been really important for me, and this is something that's just been going on lately, of owning my story, who I am, what has made me this way, all the life experiences that led me this far, and somehow, some way, there is value to that. And I think most women my age are just starting to realize there is value to it and that there is value in sharing it. So I am kicking fear in the face, as one of my very inspirational authors says, and I'm going to just do this. So here we go. Welcome. Like I said, today we're going to focus on owning your own story. Most of you already know me if you're tuning into this first episode, because you're probably my friend on Facebook or TikTok. But for those of you that don't, or for those of you that only know parts of my story, I was born outside of Philly, raised in Jersey. I grew up really fast, smoking cigarettes at 10 and sneaking out and stealing cars. And as my friend likes to say, my good friend John, he likes to say that we were raised by wolves. And I know most of you can relate to that. I was on my own a lot, too much, but it definitely, formed me and gave me strength to face a lot of things in my life. So I really do believe the 80s it was a turning point, I think, in our culture in the States. And I think kids really began to see the inauthenticity and the decadence that we were being raised around, yet the contradiction of making sure everything looks good on the outside. I know a lot of our parents, that was important to them, making sure everything looked good on the outside. But we knew that truth mattered. It mattered to us. And we knew what was going on inside of our houses. So it's like they all looked great, but on the inside, there was a lot of shit going on. And we couldn't reconcile that contradiction. So the truth mattered. And I think from my point of view, it was heartbreaking. And I think it filled some of us with a lot of rage. And if you're not quite sure whether that's true, you could just go back and watch the videos of Rage Against the Machine at Lollapalooza that's circling around the internet right now. Those are so fun to watch, but really encapsulates the pent up frustration with the lives that we led as children and latchkey kids, and being on our own and raising ourselves, and yet surrounded by decadence, whether we had it or not. It's what we saw. So in 87, because of that struggle I had with contradiction, I shaved my head and wore all black and fully believed that our outsides should match our insides. And so my outsides were a mix of darkness, confusion, and flowers. I think that still kind of sums up who I am, actually, whether I'm wearing all black with a floral print or not. I think that's still true. After high school, I got into the school of my dreams, and when it became very clear, it was in Vermont, it became very clear that I wasn't going to have enough money to go there. I got accepted in their writing program because I wanted to be a writer. So when I realized that I didn't have enough money to get in there, I packed my cat in my car and just started driving west. And I drove out to California and started a new life. And there was something really liberating about that, just being able to start fresh. And it seemed like the whole world was opening up to me to start this fresh life, to become the person I wanted to be, to realize, there are things that I was interested in that I never even considered when I lived in Jersey, just by the people I was meeting and, their travels. And they were so inspiring. And it just kind of opened that whole world up for me. Everything in California, when you're not from here and you move here, everything feels possible. And it really is the land of dreamers and also the land of free college. So that's why I ended up here. And I went to college for a few years and I was all about anthropology, still am, but that was my main focus, studying world cultures and world religions. But also, I think the only other genre that interested me was the performing arts. I was still always an artist, painting and writing, but I always wanted to get into acting. So once I started taking acting classes, theater, performance, that's when that really drew me. It fulfilled something in me. So eventually, after a bunch of classes, I dropped out of college and pursued my dream in acting. It went pretty well. And then also I traveled. I wanted to travel the world and experience these cultures I had been learning about. So, I traveled to, over 10 countries in 2 years with a backpack by myself most of the time. I love travel. Well, in my 20s, loved traveling alone. That's when I really felt like I got the best experience and met the most people. And I wouldn't trade any of those trips, even the really dangerous ones. And there will be episodes in this podcast that talk about those crazy adventures that I went on in my 20s. Most of them great, some of them ridiculously dangerous, but I survived. So here we are. By the time I got to my 30s, I felt like I really had lived an incredible life and I had pushed myself and I was always trying to see how strong am I really? How far can I go? What else can I challenge myself with? And by the end of my 20s, I really felt like I had accomplished all those things, including skydiving with Nemitz. And that's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother episode when she comes on. So yeah, I felt fulfilled and the next frontier was motherhood. So I will get better at this and telling my story and interviewing. This will all be about bringing in other women to tell their story and tackle difficult topics and fun topics. And we'll always start the episodes with some fun nostalgia from when we were growing up, including these TikTok videos that are just so fun to watch with the Latchkey kids and the Gen X stuff. My life story, even though that overview up until motherhood seems like, oh, that was really simple. It was still, there were a lot of things that were woven in between all those experiences, like severe depression, debilitating anxiety, sexual abuse, alcoholism. I struggled with a lot of things throughout all that stuff. but there were also really beautiful moments of deep friendship, recovery, love, hope. Uh, and I think the bottom line was I just never gave up. I always kept going and always searched for my happiness, even in the worst of times. Somehow I found the silver linings and just tried to follow that direction, even when I felt like I was drowning. And usually, amazing people would show up in my life during those times that would either lead the way through or just inspire me to keep going. And I know that there's so many women, especially in our generation, who have gone through some serious stuff and made it through and are so strong and so inspiring. Um, and I want to be real, 100% real about all of it, and 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 in all of our conversations. So I hope that this podcast becomes a source of laughter and joy, and also reflection on how far we've come, and all of what we have to offer to maybe young women who are sitting in that place that I think we all were in our 30s and 40s of like, wow, how do we get out of this? Like, how do we? I'm married to someone I don't want to be married to, or I'm struggling with addiction or alcoholism, and how do I get out of it? Or I'm suicidal, I'm miserable, and I don't know what to do. I know there's so many women out there that could benefit from the wisdom of Gen X women. So that is what we're going to do. This is the opening episode. The next episode is a continuation of owning your own story, and I will be bringing in my sister, the original badass, who she's got some stories. A lot of you know her, and you know how she is. She is strong, and she played a big part in raising me and who I am, and making me tough like her. So she will be here in our next episode, and I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of laughs, and definitely be real. She's a pretty incredible woman. So, with all of that said, I am, even though we're only almost 20 minutes into my first episode, that's how I wanted to start it. So, you know who I am, you know what the purpose of this channel is, and hopefully it brings you joy and you add some more wisdom to your bag of Gen X life. Okay. Subscribe, like, and then press the notification button so you always know when a new episode comes. Okay, bye.